What is coaching, really? We hear about health and wellness coaching available through our employer, see people across various social media platforms claiming to be life coaches or wellness coaches, and of course see athletic coaches taking front and center on a regular basis. But how does it work? What's the difference between someone who might call themselves a coach and someone with the credibility of being nationally board certified? How does it work? What's it like to be coached by someone who actually knows what they're doing? These are questions we're asked regularly. While we can spend hours explaining it, the best single way to understand it is to experience it in person or listen in on a real, live, unscripted session. That's exactly what you'll tap into over the next 30 minutes. As a nationally board certified health and wellness coach for Catalyst Coaching 360, we'll be coaching a client who agreed to be recorded as you listen in. There is no script. This is the real deal. As you'll hear, every coaching session is unique, and the dance between the coach and the client involves reflection, restatements, silence, intrigue, left turns, and some pretty interesting self-discovery. Whether or not Suzy's journey resonates with you personally, you're certain to be leaning in as a fly on the wall to this magical session. Welcome to the latest episode of the Catalyst 360 podcast, your trusted resource for engaging, evidence-based health, wellness, and performance insights. Speaking of coaching, if you're considering pursuing your NBHWC approved health and wellness coach certification, the next cohort officially kicks off very soon. But you can start the on-demand coursework as soon as you're registered. If you have questions, reach out anytime, 720-339-4292. That's 720-339-4292. Or email us, results@catalystcoachinginstitute.com. Results@catalystcoachinginstitute.com. And if you're already a coach, do not miss the coaching event of the year, the NBHWC approved Rocky Mountain Coaching Retreat and Symposium taking place in Estes Park, Colorado this September. All the details at catalystcoachinginstitute.com, or please email us with any questions or details about the available group discounts. Results@catalystcoachinginstitute.com. Now, it's time to listen in on a real, live, unscripted coaching session with Leigh Saner, an experienced, nationally board certified health and wellness coach, on the latest episode of the Catalyst 360 podcast.
First, thank you for taking the time to do a coaching session with me today. What I like to start off with is just asking kind of what your thoughts are and where you'd like to focus our time today.
Yeah, I am really excited too. It's the new year, and I feel like I definitely am not a person that makes New Year's resolutions. I gave that up a long time ago. I just don't like that focus. But there are some things that have gotten a little out of balance in my life, I would say, through the holidays. And then I had a really busy work schedule and family home and good stuff. But at the same time, things just got tipped upside down. So I'm struggling to get consistent with a lot of different aspects, actually. I'm definitely feeling better now, so that's good. But I feel like my workouts have been super inconsistent. They got really off track when I was sick. And then I think we joined a gym mainly because my kids wanted to join a gym. I generally work out in my home gym. I have a Peloton and like weights. And so I like doing that. But we joined this gym and that threw me off, believe it or not. Like the more options was super distracting for me. So I've been a little lost in that. And then what I've found with my eating is it's almost been like this weekend binging. Like I'll be reasonable during the week and have be on track and tracking my stuff. And then on the weekends, it's like, we'll go out to dinner and I'll drink too much and I'll just eat different things. And I feel like my weight is on this roller coaster too. So those are kind of the things that are on my mind a little bit. Yeah. Just to tell you a little bit about what I've done recently is I did a 21-day social media fast, and I'm just coming off the heels of that. And I feel like that helped me to get a little bit of clarity, but I'm still just like I don't have my calendar set up to where I'm accountable for my own personal wellness.
Okay. So it sounds like you ended, the year feeling a little less grounded than you would like to be with all of these different things going on, not feeling well, holidays, and then started the year feeling more scattered. And there was this conflict between not wanting to make New Year's resolutions surrounding restrictive goals or things like that, but wanting to be more consistent with, sounds like, a few different areas of your well-being.
Exactly. Yeah. Like the consistency piece. And I know that is so tied to everything else in my life. Just, I'm somebody that has to have that consistency. And so I've almost gotten to where my tracking thing, my FitnessPal is where I track. And I don't have a problem being really bad and actually writing it down in there, or not writing it, but logging it. It like still doesn't make a difference to me. So I don't know if I need to go to a pen and paper system or why. I don't really understand why I'm having trouble getting this consistency. Yeah.
When you consider, these 3 different areas, you're mentioning, exercise, nutrition component, you're feeling like your weight's on a roller coaster. You had the social media fast for 21 days that felt that went well. When you consider those areas and kind of look back on maybe a time when things were more consistent, what did that look like?
I think, well, with regards to exercise, I think that when I was most consistent in the recent years, it was during COVID, because I was doing these online workouts and I was just really consistent with it. And it worked really well for me. So as far as that piece goes, it was probably like during the pandemic when we were sort of at home and we couldn't go to the gym. I couldn't go to yoga. I couldn't go to gym. And I was just doing these videos, and it felt really good at that point. I feel like that was probably a time in the most recent history that just worked for me.
Okay. So this time and space where you're doing exercise at home because you weren't able to go to the gym, you felt like more in control of consistent habits surrounding that.
I did. Yeah. At the same time, when I was doing, like, if I look at that time period, other things were not as consistent. Like, I feel like my morning routine wasn't as consistent. And I wonder if it comes down to that morning routine for me, because it seems like if I set the day, if I do my day, like if I start out well, the rest of the day goes well. But It's just, like I said, I can get off track pretty easily. And it makes me question, do I need to set a goal? Do I need to set, a New Year's resolution, just not call it a New Year's resolution, but more of a target? I don't know. I'm definitely open to like ideas that you might have, though.
Okay. You mentioned this morning routine piece, and that if you have this foundation in the morning that goes smoothly with some of these components that are important to you, like exercise and nutrition, you feel like the rest of the day goes better. You kind of got more momentum to kind of sustain healthier habits.
I do. Yeah.
Would it be helpful to maybe outline what you would like an ideal routine to look like, and then maybe see what that looks like right now, and talk through maybe how we could get to that more ideal space for you?
Yeah, I think that would be helpful. And that kind of comes down to like my calendaring system too. Mm-hmm. So they're all tied together. But I feel like I mainly work from my like calendar online, my Google Calendar, but then I also have my pen and paper calendar, and I love to write. That's one of the things with this fast, because it was through my church and there was a journal with it, and I loved the writing. I did it every single day except for one day. And it was like journaling in the morning and gratitude. And then I haven't been that great with the exercise piece, but I just feel like when I look over that, like the writing it down in the morning was really good for me. So I'm thinking that maybe if I wrote this stuff down on my planner And I don't know if I need to check it off. I mean, that's what I did for my 21-day fast. I was checking things off. So,
Okay.
yeah, that could be, I think it too. I just wonder about when I look at the days that I'm not consistent, with just being in the right mindset and all that kind of stuff. I feel like those are the days that I lose sight of kind of I don't want to say my purpose, but a little bit about I lose sight of like being grounded in why I'm doing things. And I'm a little bit snappier with the kids. And those are the days that I tend to eat whatever comes my way rather than, stick to what I have already bought and prepared.
There's the less of the sense of control surrounding actions and habits and how you're showing up in the day.
Yeah, that's true. It's kind of just like a free for all at that point.
With so it sounds like you're focused around this pen and paper, part of this roadmap of like writing things down, wanting to see them, getting them, on the calendar, on the schedule. And that gives you kind of this confidence to check things off, feel good about, implementing the things that you're wanting to do in your routine. And then there's these other days where you're feeling less in control of those things, less consistent. What are some differences between, how, I guess what I could be asking is, what is different on those days you're feeling more scattered? What's going on in the morning or,
So a lot of times what'll happen, is it happens when I have an early appointment. I'm more of I'm not a super duper early morning person. So if I have something like an early morning meeting, then that means in order for me to get the journal in and those kind of things, get my mindset right, I have to get up earlier. And I'm finding that when I don't do it, I just start running and then I'm not grounded in like why I'm doing what I'm doing. So it just seems like I'm rushing from one thing to another. And so I'm just wondering, like, maybe I've always felt like I wanted to have a better morning schedule. Like I've just wanted to be one of those people that gets up, works out, does the stuff, and then set up for the day. And the days that I do that, I can see why these people write books and all that stuff about doing those things, because it really does work. And when I do it, I love it. So I guess it would be helpful for me to I think I'm answering my own question here. I think I'm realizing that is effective for me on the days that I do it. And I think it might be time to just grow up and just set a morning schedule and give myself, because I don't like to take away. I like to have this freedom in my schedule. I like this feeling of freedom and choice. And so that's why I think I resist it. But really, when I do those things, I feel better. I'm more efficient. It ultimately does give me more choice at that point. And I'm taking care of myself. I'm feeling my best. So yeah, I guess just seeing what that looks like. I don't know like I said, I feel like I've told myself I'm going to do that before and I haven't done it.
Well, and it sounds like there's this combination of wanting to create a morning routine where you're journaling, working out, having these foundational pieces, and this idea of wanting to remain flexible and have freedom to choose that and not feel like these are things you should or have to be doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
What could like a morning routine with that sense of freedom or ability to choose look like that supports these things that you're wanting to have in your day to day?
Well, it's interesting that you say the ability to choose, because I think even coming at it with that in mind feels like freedom to me, because it's like, I am choosing to do this because it helps me do the other things I want to do or be the best me. And I think that's maybe just framing it as, I'm choosing this. I'm choosing to have this morning routine. Just simply that, like the choice of the morning routine is a choice and not a have to. It's not like somebody's making me do it.
Yeah. You have ownership over what this routine looks like, choosing the components that go into it, and feel more grounded when it's coming from that perspective versus having to do things or what things should look like.
Yeah, I think that might make all the difference, because I've never done it that way before. It's like always been this kind of big, okay, I'm going to do this, and I'm good for a few days. And then I find that I slip back into this pattern, but I think I'm done with that pattern. I think I'm just done with that. It's not efficient for me. And it's just not. So yeah, I think all of getting this morning routine thing set and starting doing that, I kind of have a run at it right now, because I've been doing the journaling piece for 21 days and it has been awesome. And the days that I had the early meetings, I actually did get up and do that before I did the meeting. And so I've kind of proven to myself that I can actually do that.
So you've successfully been able to implement one of these, areas, the journaling, even though, maybe mornings aren't your favorite time, but you're intentionally waking up and choosing to do that before some of these meetings, because, it makes you feel better and feel more grounded.
Yeah, it definitely does. And it's very energizing on the days that I work out in the morning, I just feel like my energy is better. And I feel like I tend to be more like making better choices for what I'm eating, I think, because it's like that self-respect thing. Like, I just worked out. I need, my body needs this now, and then I just eat better overall, I think. Yeah, I think that I'm kind of excited about that. I'm trying to figure out, okay, so now my journal thing that I had is done because I finished it. So I don't know if I would have a new journal or write this in my calendar book. I'm not sure what that looks like.
You're not sure exactly what you're wanting to choose to focus on next. Is that right?
Well, I think just okay, so now that we've talked about doing the morning routine, I kind of need to define the morning routine. And I know for me, what I learned is that writing stuff is good. That works for me. So it's like, do I write it in my calendar? Do I write it? I think maybe putting it in my calendar and then doing the check marks. That might actually work.
So writing the morning routine in your calendar, having a check mark system of components of that routine. What we talked about, kind of the ability to choose, which gives you a sense of freedom, of control over this routine versus feeling restricted.
I really like that.
What are you wanting to choose for this? You mentioned exercise or workouts, potentially a journaling piece.
Mm-hmm.
What other areas are you wanting to choose for this space in your morning?
So I think the biggest piece that I liked about that journal was the gratitude part. And in the past, I've been really consistent with gratitude journal, like for years. And then now I haven't done it very consistently for a while. But I think putting down a few things that I'm grateful for and I have affirmation cards. So I think doing those, and then my devotional. So all of that together takes like 15 minutes.
Okay.
And then, so if I do that, and then I think I need to have workout as like a block. I need to have workout in there. And I really want to try with being consistent with doing my workout. I don't do a really long workout. I do like a 20-minute cardio and like 10 minutes of weights. So it's very doable that I want to be able to do that before I start working in the day.
Okay.
So those are my morning things, and then fuel my body.
Okay. So starting things off with, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, I like to eat after my workout. Like I like to have a shake after my workout, or eggs or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think so. That sounds like a lot of things. Like I'm writing it down and I'm putting the boxes. But really, the first three things only take 15 minutes. And then the workout takes, say, 40 minutes. And then I'm ready to go.
So having written it down and outlining what this is going to look like, what things you're choosing to have in your morning routine, how does that feel for you when you're looking at it on paper?
It feels very doable. I like the idea. I need to somehow remember the idea of choice in this, because every time we talk about that choice thing that you mentioned, then that feels really like energizing to me around this area. There's a piece of me that feels a little scared because I don't want to disappoint myself, or I don't want to tell myself that I'm going to do something and then not do it. So I'm trying to figure out where the lines go on that. But yeah, overall, I don't see a reason why this wouldn't work. Except that, like, if I stayed up late the night before or something.
Okay. So maybe, potential challenge in implementing this could be if you stay up late the night before, maybe aren't getting up as early in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
When you did the 21-day social media fast, were there any times when that happened, and what strategies did you kind of lean on for support to overcome that or be able to do
So the one day that it was a super early morning. I'm trying to think what the day was, because it wasn't on one of the early mornings I did it, but then another one I did not. And it came to the night and I had not done any of it. Well, I didn't go on social media, but I didn't do the journaling piece and the little exercise that goes with that. So what I did, because I was really tired, is I just did the gratitude part, and then I just let it go.
Okay.
So I just kind of like started the next day and got back on it.
So you were able to pivot in a way and do something that you had that kind of the energy and the capacity to do with the gratitude piece. And then you were able to kind of get back into rhythm the following day.
Yeah, it felt good because they had a little checkbox. So I still could check off the one box. And so it didn't feel like a total loss. Like it didn't feel like I totally broke it. I just said, I need to sleep. I'm not going to answer all the questions right now. And I felt good about it. And I just kind of moved on.
Ah, You chose the gratitude piece. You it sounds like you had this internal dialogue of, yeah, I didn't get to all the pieces of this today, but I'm doing this component and I feel good about that. And you were able to go to bed. It sounds like, get a good night's sleep and then wake up and kind of continue on this 21-day social media fast without feeling defeated.
No, I did not feel defeated. I just went ahead and kept going. So yeah, I think, but again, one of the things that kept me really clear on it was I had that book like in my face every single day. So it was just this visual thing. So I'm kind of thinking, actually, I want to get a different journal and keep it by my bed because my calendar is in my office and I don't want to have that be an excuse because I know like having that visual reminder was really important for me.
So exploring what like a visual reminder could look like since your calendar's in your office. So having maybe a journal next to the bed to have, that visual cue.
Yeah. And I got one for Christmas. So I think, I have a little journal and that's what I used to do when I did the gratitude journal consistently. So I think I will do that. I'm going to have a check mark on it for these other things. And give that a try and see how regular I am, I guess. And then I suppose I won't beat myself up if it doesn't work, but maybe just try a different, I don't know, maybe next time we talk, I'll let you know how it goes.
Okay. What does success look like for you? You mentioned kind of seeing how it goes, exploring.
Ooh, I like that question.
What does success look like?
Okay, this is a super good question. Thank you for asking me this. So success looks like I'm trying to think realistically. I think that 5 days a week, I'm checking my boxes and I'm getting my workout in the morning. Actually, I'm going to say 4 days a week, I'm getting my workout in the morning.
Okay.
And checking the boxes. I think that the gratitude thing, I'm probably going to be doing that nearly 7 days a week. But the workout thing in the morning, I don't want to put too much pressure on it. And I know that my gym is there. I can go down, another time. So I'm going to say 4 days a week. That's what success looks like to me.
Okay. So setting up 4 days a week, wanting to exercise in the morning, checking the boxes. And it sounds like kind of knowing that maybe the gratitude journaling will be more frequent than that. Okay.
Yeah.
With this plan you have in place, what feels like a natural first step for you?
Well, given that I just finished the other journal, I'm going to look at the journal that I got, see if that's going to be the one for me. And if not, when I go shopping today, like to Target, I know that they have some journals that have those little boxes on there that you can mark off. So I might check that out, but I think I'm going to start this like now, like tomorrow. I'm ready to start this tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah. Cause I think I'm coming off the heels of having the momentum and kind of the habit of doing that writing. So it would be totally like, I don't want to give myself a break from that. I just want to keep doing it.
Okay. So continuing the momentum that you have from the success from this 21-day social media fast to propel yourself into this next step you're wanting to take. and then we can connect and we'll see how having the ability to choose kind of this morning routine is going, what's going well, and work through maybe some things that have been challenging. How does that sound?
That sounds awesome. Thank you. This was really helpful. Thank you a lot.
You're welcome. We'll talk soon.
Okay, thanks.
Leigh, great job. Thank you. So many key elements in there. People got to hear your silence. They got to hear, I was sitting on the edge of my seat. Like there's some intrigue, like what's going to happen next here. How did you feel it went as the coach?
Yeah, I think it went pretty well. And I will say that I'm typically pretty intentional about the pause, which can feel awkward at times because there were moments where there was this pause and I was waiting. And then those were also the moments I felt were really valuable. And I was glad that I did not jump in to say anything and gave her that space to kind of reflect in the moment and continue with her thoughts. And, oh man, I would say in the beginning, there was this moment where there were like these 3 or 4 like legs going on. And I was like, okay, do I narrow, do I ask a few questions that maybe narrow in on our focus? But then I kind of decided, because it sounded like there were these 3 things that were very important. So instead of, I think, narrowing down on like a workout or exercise or a nutrition plan or the weight loss piece, I just kind of I kept it open. And in doing so, we got to this morning routine component. Yeah. In the moment I was like, maybe I could have focused in a little more with Suzy. But at the end, I was kind of glad that we kept it a little in her court, right? Which is what I think coaching is all about, is having her be in the driver's seat. And even if there are lots of branches going on, that's, leaving space for her and talking through that, I think was important. So,
and are there any tips you could throw out? You're an experienced coach. You've been doing this a long time. You've got such a strong background. How do you make that decision? It sounds like you were kind of going, well, let's see, Leigh, what do we do with this one? And then you went and then you chose a direction. Any tips on kind of how you let that stuff float around in your brain and then move or don't move in a certain direction?
That's a good question. I will say I sometimes use pauses for that, because we want to keep things client-centered, client-focused, and have them, like I said, be the driver. And so I use kind of those pauses to give the client space after, a question to navigate where we're going. So I kind of give them the space to navigate. Yeah. Like they're navigating, like we're on this path together, but they're choosing like which direction we go. So sometimes I use pauses for that when I'm feeling like, okay, I don't want to ask a question that directs them or leads them in a certain way. So I give them kind of space. Or if it sounds like, maybe sometimes if something is really important and it keeps coming up. So maybe if, say, for example, like the specific workout, situation kept coming up, that's kind of a cue of, okay, maybe this is more of the focus instead of kind of keeping it broad like we did. And we landed on this morning routine, which incorporated these 3 elements. So I guess that would be my answer to that.
Okay,
a tip would be using a pause and giving you, the time to refocus and recenter and say, okay, in the coaching context, the client is driving the bus and like you're on the bus and you're wanting to make sure that you're meeting them where they are at with how they're feeling with things. So.
And I love how you ended up with that in terms of your direction, because so many folks that come into the training or have come from clinical backgrounds as a physician or physical therapist or counselor or something like that, that's their hardest thing, is not directing, not pointing, not saying, here's the answer, and instead allowing it to be client directed. So love that. Anything you might have wanted to tweak? I mean, it's not like you've listened to this and you've done a critical analysis or anything, but just on the fly, was there anything that you're like, I might have wanted to do this, or as I'm just doing a quick cycle back, maybe I would have tried this question or something. Anything that pops to the forefront?
I will say, when we were talking about her connection with writing things down, and there came up this time of like an affirmation surrounding choice, like the ability to choose versus having to feel like you're putting yourself into a box. I was kind of going back and forth on whether we should have dove a little bit more into that when she was saying, she said something along the lines of, you know, I want to stay grounded with this ability to choose. And how can that show up in this creation of my morning routine that has these boxes and check marks on it? So I think maybe looking back, I would have maybe asked a question or two on what that could look like for her. Yeah, so there was that. And then I'd say a little bit like was saying, like, I felt like we were circling the drain a bit in some like more abstract areas that maybe I could have asked different open-ended questions or maybe provided a reflection or two that moved us, you know, a little more forward. You know, those were my like two takeaways without kind of listening to how it went. Yeah. So I probably would have those two areas. But I was also looking, you know, we could spend an hour, you know, talking about affirmations and what that looks like and visualizing. But maybe a question or two in there. Yeah.
Okay. Very good. And Suzy, I want to say thank you. I know you. I've known you for a long time. You're one of the most engaging, energized, positive people I know. So thank you for pulling the curtain back for us. Thanks for the honesty, the transparency, the willingness to say, and I've got these struggles and this is what's going on. So out of the gate, thank you. How did you feel this went? How, from the Coach E perspective, how did you feel it went? None of this was scripted. None of this was planned in advance. You two just sat down. You went through this. How did you feel like it went?
I feel like from my perspective, it was just like, this was a really useful tool for me, just a useful session for me. I think the thing that I felt embraced by Leigh in a way that she held the space for me. She trying to picture, like, she just listened really well and reacted and she kind of resisted even my prompting to that. Tell me what to do. And she didn't tell me what to do. So I just think that made all the difference for me, to be able to be open. You know, this truly is something that's kind of been spinning around for probably since the beginning of the year, is just feeling that things were spinning a little bit. And I don't feel like that after this coaching session with Leigh. I feel grounded. I feel in control, like in the sense of, no one's making me do this, or, you know, this is a choice for me. And I feel like the next step is doable. And if it doesn't work, she helped me with kind of, you know, what that looked like too. So I really love the question, what does success look like? That wrapped it up for me really, really well, because it took me back to kind of like, why does it matter type of thing.
Right.
So thanks for that question, Leigh. It was a very useful call.
Any surprises in there with a direction that it took or the outcome you landed on, or was there anything where had you gone back in time that you'd be surprised with where you ended up when it was over?
Yes, I did not think that we were going to end up with talking about my morning routine, because truly that is something that probably, I think two times in a very like with a business coach more, I have discussed this before. It's been a few years ago since the last one, so things have changed, but I did not think that we were going to discuss that. I thought it was going to be more strategy around my, you know, like just typical wellness lifestyle things that I wanted to tweak. But it was interesting how Leigh did resist the urge to, you know, pin me down in one direction, which would have been also, I mean, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's a great lesson for us.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that it would have been valuable, I'm sure, but I don't know if it would have been as deep. I don't know if the value would have been as deep, and it would have gotten more towards like, let's take one more step back. Like, why, you know, so now I feel like this is this is really kind of the appropriate place to start.
Yeah. Excellent. Excellent. Either one of you, were there any key moments? Oftentimes in a coaching session, there's a couple of moments that take place where what happens in that moment directs the rest of it, directs the outcome, directs the engagement. Did either of you or both of you sense any of those moments come up in this sample session?
I definitely did. And Leigh, I'd be curious to see if you find the same one. When you switched you reframed for me, the morning routine was a choice. And that actually had like an energetic shift for me personally in thinking about it. So I think that I'm going to be successful with this. And one of the reasons is because of that shift, because that's like a really big value of mine to have it. Like freedom is a really big value of mine. And so that's always been a rub for me with this. And so I think that was just really brilliant. And that was definitely a turning point where it made it feel doable for me then.
Yeah. I didn't know whether, I would go first or you would. As soon as you said the ability to choose as your kind of takeaway of the session, that would definitely be the moment where I thought was like a pivotal moment, because you kind of started off with resistance against New Year's resolutions and feeling like you should be doing things or have to be doing things. And you like to hold yourself accountable with the boxes, like checking things off, and also have this need for freedom and ability to choose. So I think when we had a discussion around that and incorporated that into everything we were talking about with the morning routine, steps to take, how it looks like, knowing that was a big value of yours and important to you, and holding that through our conversation, I think I was really, excited about that. But, yeah.
That was good. Thank you.
So last question, Leigh, obviously coaches work in different timelines with their clients. Some might connect weekly, some might connect twice a month, some might be quarterly or 3 times a year, something like that. How would you approach this? And don't go through all of those options, but how would you approach this if you're going to be chatting with Suzy in a couple of weeks versus if you're going to be talking to her in a couple of months? Is there a variation between your approach for the next session based on that frequency?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, the first thing that came to mind was maybe if I knew that we maybe weren't going to talk or have a follow-up again for maybe 8 weeks, I might have asked a question about support and accountability in this next step, and that's a question that I feel like comes into coaching frequently, is kind of what's this support and accountability outside of the coaching space that can help you with reaching this or, implementing this next step. So that might have been a question I'd ask if I had known we meet quarterly or we're meeting 8 weeks from now. If we're meeting like a week or two, from now, I think it probably, would have been, I would have kept it pretty similar, because it gives enough time to kind of implement and talk about like challenges that have come up, kind of like how we ended the session. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but yeah, probably an additional question on support and accountability if there's more time in between our sessions.
Perfect. You too. Thank you so much. This was really valuable. I know it's difficult knowing you're being recorded, you knowing that thousands of people are going to hear you. So thank you, Leigh, for the guts to step up and put yourself out there. And Suzy, thank you for your transparency, your honesty. You laid it all out there. I really appreciate it from both of you. So thanks so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for the opportunity. And Leigh, I really benefited from this a lot. So thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. Thanks so much for having us, Brad.
Thanks for tuning into the #1 podcast for health and wellness coaching. We just had our biggest month of downloads in our 5-year, 250 plus episode history. And since we depend almost entirely on word of mouth, we obviously have you to thank for that. If you're an employer, EAP, or wellness provider looking for a catalyst to support or maybe enhance the physical, emotional, and mental health of those you serve, Catalyst Coaching 360 might be the solution you're seeking. Personalized, best-in-class, and value-based health and wellness coaching you can integrate into any program and any platform. We do one thing, coaching. It's not an add-on. It's in our DNA. If you're tired of settling, maybe it's time for a catalyst. CatalystCoaching360.com or email us anytime, results@CatalystCoaching360.com. And now, speaking of catalysts, it's time to be a catalyst. This is Catalyst Coaching 360, Dr. Brad Cooper. Make it a great rest of your week, and I'll speak with you soon on the next episode of the Catalyst 360 podcast, or maybe over on the YouTube coaching channel.